I've known you for a long time. I know you come out from work at noon every day and you fight your way out the door and then you push back in and 3 seconds later you come back out again. I walk with you to lunch and I know if it's a good day, you stop and get that romance novel at the bookstore. I know what you order. And I know that on Wednesdays you go to that dim sum parlor and I know you get a jawbreaker before you go back into work. And I know you hate your job and you don't have many friends. And I know sometimes I feel a little uncoordinated and you don't feel as wonderful as everybody else and feeling as alone and as separate as you feel you are. I love you. I love you. And I think you're the greatest thing since Spicer X. And I would be knocked out several times if I could just have that first kiss. And I won't. I won't be distant. I'll come back in the morning and I'll call you if you let me. But I still don't drink coffee.
Hey folks, this is NYC Actors Talk, Robin Williams, a podcast series where we go through the best performances of Robin Williams and search for his absolute best role. And where we answer the question, what was his greatest role? Do you know, Hunter?
I have no clue, but that is why we are here.
I'm Nick.
I'm Hunter.
And we have a very special guest today. Isn't that right, Hunter?
We do. Christopher Allen Yerkes, my dudes.
Hey guys, how you doing?
we love a dramatic pause.
Yeah, well, drum roll, please.
Anticipation.
So yeah, on this episode, we are going to be talking about The Fisher King, 1991. So this is his third Oscar nomination. His first two were Dead Poets Society and Good Morning Vietnam. So yeah, 1991. This is the peak era of Robin. He's on top of the world. He's just like one of the most popular performers, actors of that time. This is a big movie for him because he's nominated for an Oscar for this movie. And it is directed by Terry Gilliam, best known for Monty Python and the Holy Grail, one of the best comedies of all time. And also Brazil, which is also considered a great movie, and some people say it's one of their favorites as well. So yeah, that's just setting things up. The Fisher King, we're here. Here we are. We're talking about it.
I'm ready to talk about it too. This is by far my favorite Robin Williams performance.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. So on that, Christopher. What are your overall thoughts on The Fisher King?
I find the movie to be beautifully bizarre.
Well said. That's all you have to say, I think.
Right. I mean, what better actor to use in that category, right?
Yeah. So what do you love about it? Like what drew you to this movie?
What drew me to the film is the uneven tones. I like the idea that you played with something very serious and you throw in these comedic tones. You're kind of asking yourself, should I really be laughing at this? Is this funny? I mean, this guy's completely crazy. Look what he's gone through, and yet we're laughing.
Leave it to Mr. Robin Williams.
Absolutely, right? And people, I feel like he gets a lot of credit to doing that in like Good Will Hunting, but Fisher King is a prime example of that. You really feel for this guy, but you're also having a good time with him,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nick, you haven't seen this movie before this, right?
Right. This is my first viewing of this movie.
What did you think?
I love this movie so much. It's manic, it's hilarious, it's emotional, it's out there. It's beautiful, and it's all anchored by a Robin Williams performance that is on another level. I think I agree. Yeah, and as much as I've been loving his performances while we have been doing this series, I think this is like, once again, just like kind of perfect, and I can't. It's a hidden gem that I am so glad that I watched. I loved it.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with the both of you. Uh, Chris, the way that you put it, beautifully bizarre is so true.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's so many different genres that this movie's playing with. It's like it's almost like fantasy in a way, but it's also
Right. Right.
yeah, it's also like drama, it's also comedy. It's so many things and it does it all so well,
Mhm.
which movies don't whenever they try to take on too much things, it usually kind of ends shitty. But this movie doesn't. And Robin Williams, like you said, Nick, is like I know we keep saying it almost, but it's like, oh dude, he's really at his best here. Like and it's everything that I've ever wanted from a Robin Williams performance, I think.
Absolutely. I think his performance it's at an equal. Like you have something like Mrs. Doubtfire where it's really, really funny and has the kind of serious element underneath. Where I think Fisher King, they completely are exactly the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
It's like
Yeah.
he has like
Yeah,
sense
I'm so glad you both have mentioned the tonal balance of this movie because yeah, it's pretty spot on. Like, there's not really a note or a moment in this movie where I was like, eh. Like, it's all pretty much there, and it works because it can be funny and heartbreaking at the same time.
right.
yeah, it's pretty amazing. So Nick, what happens in this movie? How does this movie open up? Let's go.
Let's go. This movie opens up with Jack Lucas, our main character, played, I think, wonderfully by Mr. Jeff Bridges, my man.
He's the dude.
He's the dude. Yeah, we start the movie with Jack Lucas, and he is, he's this asshole. He's basically a Howard Stern type, where he has this radio talk show, and he's just he's almost completely devoid of empathy, of kindness, of just like, I don't know, he barely has a moral compass. Like, he's basically just like the worst guy, basically. But also what is interesting, and that we kind of explore later in the movie, is that like he almost doesn't know what he's doing, which is why I think it helps his character arc by the end, that like he's not necessarily doing it intentionally. You know what I mean? Like, where he's not like evil just for the sake of being evil. He's more just like just saying stupid shit, and then people are taking those words so seriously, and so and to, as we find out, really tragic effect. So he's an asshole for sure, though, and so we start with that kind of status quo. He's very popular, and he has an audition for this this TV show, and so he's on top of the world. He's at his apartment. He's got a girlfriend. He's got paintings of his face all over the place, and he's rehearsing the line that he's rehearsing in for his show. What is it? Forgive me, forgive me.
Forgive me.
And it's just like, yeah, like he's just a total narcissist. He's just unbelievably full of himself, and then he sees on the TV that someone that he just talked to just killed a couple of people with a shotgun, and he's basically hashtag canceled after that.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. I was like, oh dude, this is cancel culture.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So yeah, so where are we from there? So we cut to 3 years later, and he's doing worse. Let's be honest. And he has this girlfriend who's very supportive, played by Mercedes Rule, but she's also like, she's also like, hey, can you like give me some attention, please? And it's so it's like, it's that kind of energy where like, she's just a kick-ass broad who wants some fucking attention, because like, of course, why aren't you being a good boyfriend to me? So I love that kind of back and forth between them in the beginning of the movie, where she's like, "Hey, like, can we have this? Can we have a better relationship, please?"
Yeah, played wonderfully by her too. She's got
Oh,
a few like stellar moments too.
right. Absolutely. But she's another one. She'll have that very serious moment where she's yelling at him, Jack, come on, Jack. And then all of a sudden she'll say something funny. We're laughing in the middle of this breakup. You know, so it's again that tonal thing that all the actors have in it, and especially Robin Williams. So again, you know, it just comes to that. I think that's why the movie's so good as a whole, you know. It's not just one person.
Absolutely, yeah. Everyone's bringing it in this movie. I think everyone's wonderful. She's wonderful. She wins an Oscar for this movie. I don't know if you guys know this. She won supporting actress for the movie, and I think it's very well deserved. As you guys said, yeah, she actually has some of the funniest lines of the movie.
Yeah,
she's so in the moment in every scene she's in. Yeah, her line deliveries are killer.
Yeah, saying that, I will say that we're on performances right now. Something I thought was funny is that the Birdcage, the guy that plays the kid, is in this movie. He's like the bad, like gangster type punk that is like pouring gasoline on Jeff Bridges and beating up Robin Williams. And I was like, oh, look at him. He's in another Robin Williams movie.
I know. Actually, it's funny. I when I watched it, I was thinking the same thing. Like, wait a minute, is that Val?
Yeah, and I was like, how the fuck is this guy in so many Robin Williams movies? It's not that good.
Look, I didn't think he was great in The Birdcage. I kind of found him a little insufferable, I think. But also, like, it's kind of the writing, too. It's not just him. But, like, I wasn't very impressed. And in this movie, he has a couple lines, and he's an asshole, and he's just... And it's perfect.
What does he say? But he talks like that. It's like, what the fuck is happening? Oh.
Yeah, he's it's perfect. He's perfectly used in this.
Yeah.
So at this point, he leaves the apartment. He's drunk. He's he's got some booze with him. He's basically at the lowest of lows in his life. He's very depressed. He just doesn't care anymore. And it seems that he's going to kill himself. He's going to what is it? Just like the corner of near a bridge or something. I don't know if it was a bridge,
yeah.
So, but it was like it was near the docks or whatever, right? And he picks up a little Pinocchio doll, by the way. Talks to the doll, and he's just like, "Hey, I think I might deserve this, like this shitty life right now. Maybe I do deserve this." Which is a very key scene. And then he's about to kill himself. Val shows up with his friend, and he's getting attacked. Gasoline is getting poured on him, and then Robin Williams appears
in the most epic way possible.
Absolutely.
I had no idea. Now, I'll preface it. I had no idea about this movie. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know who played who. And then Robin Williams shows up, and I'm like, fuck yes.
With his big garbage can lid. Hey, what does he say again?
He says a bunch of things. I don't know. He says at one point, like, they say, like, hey, are you, and he's like, no, well, I'm not, but I believe in fairies.
And he's...
Exactly. Oh, and he's got that badass, like, whatever that is. Like, he throws that around. And he has, that awesome sword made out of, like the front of a car, a bumper, and a car bumper. And it's just like, I had no idea he was going to look like that in the movie.
I didn't know he was going to be a kooky homeless man.
Oh, and then when they start coming out, I like New York in June. How about you?
It's so brilliant because you think he has his posse. And, like, it looks like they're about to attack, and then lights. I like New York in June. How about you? It's perfect.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
It's iconic.
As the guy's getting ready to kill himself, it's different.
It is, yeah. And so he saves Jeff Bridges' life. Jack Lucas is saved. and he brings him back to his place. You know, Jack Lucas is kind of like, where the hell am I? He passes out drunk, and then he wakes up, and Robin Williams is there, just like right next to him. You know, he's laying down next to him, like, hi.
Hey.
And when he makes him laugh in that position, he's like, ah, 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 ah.
Yeah, and then he starts talking to fairies, and I was like, dude, this is everything I've ever wanted to see. Is just I just wanted Robin Williams, just him alone, just like talking to himself. It's awesome.
Right, absolutely. Then you have him. So you have Robin Williams, this big eccentric big character, and then you have Jeff Bridges, very much like this. So the chemistry in the scene is bouncing off the wall. It's fantastic. I mean, you have what am I? A hood ornament. Like a knight.
It's perfect, exactly. And you guys touched on it brilliantly. Yeah, the chemistry between them is perfect, because he's, you know, Robin Perry is an optimist. He's manic, but like, you know, he believes in people and helping people and you know and good and what is just as a knight. And then we have Jack Lucas, who's very dry and very sarcastic and kind of just like very cynical. So it's like a perfect perfect dynamic.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and then is this when we learn the big?
Yeah. So he takes Jack Lucas takes his toy, his Pinocchio, back, and he's like, okay, I'm out of here. And because Robin's basically explaining that, like, you know, he has this quest, he has to find the Holy Grail. You're the one. The fat fairies told me that. It's like, you're the chosen one. They told me, like, you got to do it. It has to be you. And he's like, no. He pieces the fuck out, and then the I guess what the guy who kind of owns the place or the building, he's like a landlord sort of. He basically tells him, like, what are you doing here? And then he kind of explains, like, hey, like, he you know, he's a little crazy now because of what happened to him. And he explains, like, oh, it's some asshole with a shotgun killed his wife. And then Jack, you see it in his acting. You see that he puts the pieces together, and he's like, oh, this is because of me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So he has immense guilt over this, of course, and he has this fabulous scene with his girlfriend where, you know, Jack is like, I don't know what to do. Do I give him money? Like, how do I make this stop? And it's a wonderful scene. I don't know about what you guys have to say about it, but
yeah, it's interesting that his character says, like, oh, should I give him money, when, like, in the beginning of the movie he's like kind of against that. Like, a homeless man's knocking on his window and he's like, oh, like, money's not gonna help.
Right. It's kind of like shows how narrow-minded he was. Like, what does a rich person do to a homeless person? Give him money? Like, thinking there's, you know, not thinking that there's actually something they're going through or something emotional, or it's always money. You know, rich to the poor. So he's still kind of thinking in that terms, even though he's poorer now. It's interesting.
Yeah, you hit it exactly. Like, even though, now he's thinking of giving him money, it's just kind of like just to kind of get the guilt out of him. You know, it's a quick fix for him to say that. Kind of like, oh, should I just, like, give him money and leave? Like is that how I'm gonna feel better about this? You know, so it's still, as you said, very narrow-minded, and it's like, no, like, you have to actually like put the work in too. Like, it's not an easy fix to, like, just hand him some money.
Right.
Yeah. And something that I'm finding about Robin Williams movies while we're doing this series is that most of them are about, like, really serious topics.
Mm-hmm.
This is about, like, homelessness and, like, kind of mental illness in a way. And, like, the other movies that we've been talking about are very similar in that they take on these very big, sensitive topics.
Yeah,
very, very true. And he really, until he got older, he really didn't do anything that was kind of just straight comedy. You know, like Old Dogs and things like that. That RV. But yeah, you're right. Through his prime of his career, everything was very much this tone. Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's dark, it's funny, it's kind of everything Robin was in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
I like that. Yeah,
what happens next?
giving him money.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
Right.
No. Actually, though, yeah.
It
Because
is.
then, because then after that wonderful scene, he goes and he's like, "Here," and then he's like almost about to go, and Robin's like, well, at first he finds him like on top of a car, just like smiling, talking to himself, which is, I think, both like manic, of course, but also like really fucking sweet.
Yeah, right.
It was very like childlike and endearing. It was.
Yeah. And so like he kind of wakes or snaps Perry out of it, and then Perry's like, wait, come here. We're gonna go over here now. We're gonna go to this corner. Oh, there she is. And he's like, who? And that, like, the girl right there. And it's Lydia, as we find out. And yes, just the way he looks at her is so touching.
Absolutely. It's just a great parallel too. You have this guy kind of looking at materialistic stuff to help somebody. He's handing him money as he's kind of infatuated with these little idiosyncratic things this woman does that he's fallen in love with. So that's the real thing, love. So if you look at it, he's just kind of not paying any attention. And I feel like that's kind of that's a message Gilliam's trying to say in that moment.
Absolutely. And so, Jack gives him the money. He's like, okay, there you go. I'm out now. And Robin or Perry just gives it to another homeless guy who needs it more than him. I love that.
Right. He don't need it. He's worried about love,
Exactly. Like, that's all he cares about. He doesn't care about money.
Yeah, I also love how Jeff Bridges, right when he gives him the other homeless man the money, he's all like, "What the fuck? No, give me that back. Give me that back." He's like, hey, you don't get to decide what he does with the money. Like, and plus it's $70. What the fuck is he gonna do?
Exactly. Which is why it's like so narrow-minded. Like, oh no, it has to be exactly this. That's how I'm gonna be happy. And if he does anything that's different to that, that's gonna piss me off.
Yeah.
Right.
Fucking asshole.
And I'm just remembering now, like, when Lydia leaves, and then like Perry does like a little dance.
Oh yeah.
It's so fucking adorable.
Yeah.
With the little hat on.
I know, he has a little hat. I love his hat.
Oh, it's so great.
Amanda Plummer plays Lydia, and I'm sure you guys agree. Lydia is a great character, and I think her performance is wonderful. It's not, obviously she doesn't have a lot to do in the movie. She's only in a few scenes, but those scenes, though, are so key.
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of thought her character was a little bit of an ass.
And that's the point, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so, I'm going to use the term again, beautifully bizarre, with Amanda Plummer. I mean, she has this very unique, very strange delivery. And it's kind of opposite of what anybody else would do, And she has this very squirrely kind of thing she does. And it's very cute, but it's also, like Hunter said, it can come off very asshole-ish. So, but she has a way. So most characters like that you wouldn't root for. But she has a way of making her assholeness cute, where you're like, I kind of hope they get together,
Right, she's still a likable character, and
right.
I think as we get later into the movie, we start to understand why we root for her.
Right.
And perfect what you said, Chris. Yeah, like she has this kind of mousy quality about her, but then like I forget exactly the line, but like she kind of is explaining later in the movie about like I think her mom or something, and like the way she like delivers some of those lines, like she kind of like goes down to a register like this for a second, and it's like
right.
It's like wonderful.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
The way she can play with her voice too is just like a wonderful work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we love Lydia, and Perry does too. We see that love wholeheartedly. I think at this point, and tell me if I'm wrong, but are we up to the point when the Red Knight shows up for the first time and he is running away, or actually running to the Red Knight? Is that the scene that's next?
I believe so. When he falls in the street.
Yeah, and he's going to the park to find the knight.
Yes, I believe so. That's it. Yes,
that's right. Because then I think a little bit before that, they go to the castle where they think the Holy Grail is, and so they have a little back and forth at first where he's like, "I love this guy," and you know, like, and Jack is just like, "Don't talk to me."
Yeah, that moment where he's like jumping around, being all like, "This fucking city, but this guy is like, this is the moment that I was like, oh, this is I'm watching greatness. I'm watching greatness unfold before me right now." And
I just love, once again, they perfectly highlight, like, you know, Perry's optimism and how his kind of psychosis, you know, is like so full of life that, like, you know, like there's no like necessarily looking down at it, you know. There's no point when it's like, man, doesn't this suck for him to have this mental illness, you know what I mean? Like it's very smartly handled and very it's just such an empathetic take that I love. And so basically at that point the Red Knight shows up for the first time because Perry is jumping, you know, he's being so full of life, and then he falls down on the street and he's just like in a fetal position, and he sees the Red Knight, and we'll get into the Red Knight later because I think that's such an important part of the movie, but basically he's so paralyzed by it. And then, you know, the Red Knight kind of goes away, and he notices that, oh, Jack, like he doesn't like you, Jack. And then he runs to the Red Knight, and once again, I think a wonderful moment when, like, it's once again, I think perfectly manic and then sentimental, where like he's running, Jack is trying to catch up to him. He's like, wait for me, jeez, what are we doing? And then he's running, and then finally Jack finds him, and he's just sitting
on the rock.
Exactly. And it's like, once again, crazy, but also like so full of heart, and where he's just looking up at the sky, and then he turns around and he's just like, oh, hey Jack, what's up?
Right. Like, and as an audience you're like, what? Because you don't know what that is. So you see him chasing him, like, what's going to happen? Is this real? Is this something of his imagination? And then as soon as you're hyped up and you get ready to get near the end of it, you get right back into comedy. It's a roller coaster.
It's a wonderful roller coaster.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is. And I love when he's sitting on the rock and he's like, isn't this a beautiful place? It's like, oh man, what a fuck. And I was going to say this too, that Robin Williams has such a way about him that he makes his characters so relatable. I never, and maybe not never, but like, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody do it like him, where it's like, oh man, I see myself in this crazy homeless person. That shouldn't happen. You know what I mean? But he does it, and I think that is so amazing.
Yeah, I think just the way Robin plays all that is just so, like, you can't look away from it. It feels so important to just like life and just like what we should be doing in life. It's just like, it's just so wonderfully done, especially in moments like that. And then, I'm just remembering now, and beautifully we kind of move to the next scene where he hears a cry for help. And I'm gonna butcher the line, so I'm not gonna say it because I don't remember. But like the way he says that line so fast is just like brilliant.
Yeah, he's all like, "I got it," like something about what I've been training for, or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's like it's kind of this pitter patter, almost Shakespearean, where it's like, you know.
Yeah. And all I kept thinking about watching it was, "Help is on the way."
Oh, dearie.
And then you meet Michael Jeter, right?
Michael freaking Jeter, who I think is absolutely wonderful in this movie.
Oh my.
If you don't know him, I know him from Elmo's World. He's Mr. Noodle. Mr.
That's right.
Noodle.
Yeah,
That was Mr. Noodle's brother, Mr. Noodle.
I know him from the original Air Bud.
Yes, and he's in the Green Mile with the mouse.
Oh, I haven't seen it, but I gotta
yeah.
watch it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you should watch it. Yeah, his comedic timing. But he's like, do you need help? No, I just love laying in horse shit. I was. Oh,
Also later, that's him singing. Yes.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And we'll get to that performance.
Sorry.
It's fabulous. But yeah, he brings so much life, energy, and humor, and heart to such a small role, because really he only shows up in like maybe 3 scenes. But it feels like we spend so much time with this guy. And yeah, if Robin wasn't in the movie, I'd say almost he was the heart, almost like his scenes were just killer. We get a look into such an interesting, compassionate character.
Yeah, you know so much about him in just those.
Yeah, some of the stuff he says in the scene. I mean, right when they bring him to the hospital, and you're with all these Terry Gilliam characters. I feel like I was in 12 Monkeys again. And he's like Catherine Hepburn in Summertime.
They go back to Central Park, and our boy Robin Williams is naked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wonderful. We love to see it.
It's brilliant.
I never in my life ever thought I was ever gonna watch a scene where Robin Williams is performing a monologue naked. But it's everything I ever wanted.
I
know what you mean.
I like when he turns around and kind of shakes his tush.
Oh yeah,
puts
that's
his
your
arm
little guy
back.
flapping the wind.
Yeah, where he does like a little song like
And also, let's not forget about Jeff Bridges' performance during that. How do you not crack up laughing every single time? How do you do it?
Oh,
And
right.
like-
Especially in that scene where he's like, who are you talking to, Jack? I'm talking to the little people. Oh, are they here?
Robin is a hairy boy, and he's giving it. He's showing us all the hairs. We love the hairs. He's got a beautiful beard in this too, as we
Relatable.
Relatable as relatable AF. But like as we mentioned before, Hunter, we love to see like his wonderful beards when he's able to show off his hairy bod and everything. So I don't know why we've spent so much time talking about his hairy bod, but I love it.
Because he is hairy. He's a hairy dude, and also the beard portion is he does his best work with the beard. He just does.
That's what it is. That's how it is.
I didn't make the rules, okay? I'm just the messenger, okay?
And I think one of the best scenes of the movie is this part where, as we were kind of talking before, Robin has this monologue naked where he's telling the story of the Fisher King, and just the way he performed it was tear-jerking and beautiful, and you really wanted to hear like every single word he was about to say. It was so kind of soft-spoken, but also like so I don't know, it's so focused on the words, his performance, like you just want to hear everything he says, and it's just like a simply touching I don't know, monologue moment where he tells a story, and at the end it's basically about like this guy who just helped someone because he was thirsty, and you see Jack take that in. You see that, like, we cut to him and we see through his acting and his face that, like, okay, I'm registering this. Just like really key moments like that where like he's slowly learning empathy and it's wonderful.
Absolutely. You know, going off what you said, you know, just talking about Robin Williams, it's amazing that I don't think there's anybody, and I'm speaking boldly here, I don't think there's any actor that can do a monologue like that better than Robin Williams. You know, based on all his other performances, I mean, Good Will Hunting, the scene on the bench, but in particularly here, you're right that the way he gives that monologue and the way Jeff Bridges takes it in, it's very real, very human, kind of like Hunter touched on earlier. We can all relate to it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just really sweet. It's like a friend talking to you, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Something that I noticed about Jeff Bridges too, he's a killer listener in this movie, if that makes sense. Like, I just kept watching him while other people were talking, and I was like, man, he's like, Nick, how you said, like, he's really taking everything in.
A lot of actors are kind of thinking about how to react to the line next based off what they're doing, rather than just kind of taking in the scene and actually listening to the words they're saying, rather than thinking about yourself. You know, there's a lot of actors do. Robin doesn't. Robin gives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when an actor gives, it's easier to receive. You know, he's not really prying anything from him. You know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, he has this monologue, and by the end, you see that, like, he's almost remembering his life, and it's a very slow thought process, but it's like, yeah, he's like, someone said this once, a professor from Hunter, and it's almost like he's gonna remember, and then the Red Knight shows up again. And so at this point, when I was watching it for the first time, I was like, okay, so whenever the Red Knight shows up, that's his trauma. That is his, you know, what happened that fateful night with his wife. You know, that's the Red Knight is basically the visual interpretation of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is, it's interesting that Jeff Bridges, like, he makes the Red Knight run away. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, like, he's finding, like, solace in other people, and maybe that's why.
Right, because it's all about, like, helping someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what Jack is doing, even if he doesn't know that when he's there with him, with Perry, you're right, the Red Knight goes away.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful metaphor for trauma and things that we go through, I think. Like, I think that's an amazing way to put it, you know?
Jack is like, hey, I'm going to help you get this girl, okay? They go to the train station. What is the train station called again?
Grand Central Station.
Grand Central Station. There we go. I have lived in New York all my fucking life, and I don't remember the name of the train station. Anyway,
NYC actors talk film. What's that train again?
What's that train? Lydia's there. Perry's waiting, and he's like, "Oh, she's usually here. She's a little late, I guess." And so she comes out, and she's like, you know, being clumsy like she always is. And then we have this beautiful scene where everyone's dancing in Grand Central.
It is beautiful, though. It's poetic. It's Terry Gilliam being Terry Gilliam, which is one of the very few. Besides the Red Knights, it's one of the very few moments we kind of get Gilliam. You know, he doesn't do his, and I mean that as he doesn't do his cliche 12 Monkeys Brazil. You know, he kind of keeps everything kind of traditional in a way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then we get into what Hunter mentioned earlier, the fantasy, where Gilliam always likes to add fantasy. I think this is the scene in the movie that it's very Gilliam.
Yeah, like he's very pulled back here, as opposed to like some of his other work. I haven't seen a lot of his work yet, but I've seen Holy Grail, you know, and everything. But I definitely want to see more from him, his older work, like Brazil and 12 Monkeys and.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You'll see what I mean. There's definitely he does his very fantasy elements to his movies, and in the Fisher King, when I think about it, I mean, besides the overall story and the Red Knight, that's really the only moment where we kind of really get it. So
interesting.
Apparently, he thought, he was all like, "Huh, wouldn't it be great if like everybody in here just kind of like looked at each other and fell in love and started waltzing? Wouldn't that just be great? Let's just try it." and they kept it in. I think that's so wonderful.
I can relate to that. Yeah, I would do that.
Let's just see. I think that's awesome.
And what's so funny is apparently they're waltzing. All these people are waltzing, and we see Lydia, just walking, minding her own business, and we see Robin, and he's following her. And for anybody else, it could be creepy, but the way he plays it. And I think what stood out to me the most was his stillness in that scene. Like the way he was just so still and just looking at her so tenderly, walking towards her, and he's just, I don't know, he has so much intent to go to her. It's just so good without saying anything. It's such a great performance.
It's the stuff that we all relate to in Robin Williams. It's the sensitivity, it's the humor, it's the everyday man look. He gives us that feeling. We've all looked at somebody probably the same way he looks at Lydia, whether it's someone or something.
I'm looking at you, Hunter.
Oh my God. Oh man, that's beautiful.
I believe it's New Year's Eve. They do it. They do it at Grand Central Station still to this day. Everyone waltzes and they dance, and when it's, I guess, midnight, everyone dances, just like in the movie.
Because of this movie?
Because of this movie.
What?
We definitely got to all go dancing at Grand Central now, for sure. So she gets away. Perry is... there's too many people. She gets away, and then we get to this wonderful fucking scene where Michael Jeter gives, I think, one of the best drag performances I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, but he walks in. The two things that make me laugh: when he walks into the cubicle and he's running, you hear the high heels, you see the balloons flying in there, and then and he shows up at her cubicle, and she goes, that little noise, and then he's like, "You must be she." I have a dream.
Everything's coming up video. Stephen Sondheim, funnily enough, Michael Jeter was a good friend of Sondheim, and so he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna change the words," and Sondheim was totally cool with it.
Wow,
that's so cool. Yeah,
I bet you he watched it and he was like, "This is amazing."
Yeah, definitely.
If there's a scene that like perfectly shows someone's talent, it's that scene.
When he tries to kind of prep for singing and he warms up, he does, "I'm Charles Lindbergh's wife. I can't find my baby." Of course, he does it way better than me, but that's Michael Jeter.
His voice is actually beautiful.
I know.
I was like,
every time I watch, I listen for that. I'm like, why is this great?
Yeah, why? Yeah, just why? What's happened? I was like, oh, he's gonna be bad or something. And I thought that was gonna be the joke. No. The joke is that he's better than most.
It's just a powerhouse performance, and it's just a monster of a moment, and it's not only is it progressive, obviously, for the time, especially. Like, I can't believe a moment like this happened in a movie, in a 1991 movie. It's an awesome moment, and it's hilarious, but also, like, yeah, just it's just like great singing chops, and then like, no one claps, and that's okay, because it's like, fuck the haters. It was a wonderful performance.
Mm-hmm. Then they hire Perry at the video place to hook him up with the girl.
Once again, it's all through the acting and the character work, but like, she's once again kind of like, hey, am I being duped here? Like, this is real, right? Like, am I actually gonna get 10 free videos? Did I actually win? What's going on? That kind of energy where she's like very defensive and very like, I'm not being duped here, right?
But it's like one of those kind of like a double-edged sword. Like, she said it to be, of course, it sounds bitchy to say it that way, but like, she also means it in, she kind of feels like she's on an island, like no one really, like, she's its own thing. So that's why she feels like she's being duped. And there's no way you like Ethel Merman too. There's no way you went to order that. I'm the only one that likes Ethel Merman,
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true.
One thing leads to another, and they're like, "Oh, come back! I'll do your nails, okay, honey?" And so she comes back, and then at the very end of that scene, Anne is like, sometimes you could be a real bitch.
Right. Yeah.
And then
I call
and then they laugh.
right, because they both know it. I call that scene the battle of the subtext, because they're all kind of showing this one emotion, but if you watch everything they're saying something different underneath. Like, I know I'm a bitch. Oh, I'm trying to figure out information, but I got to put my defense on because I can't make her look like she went up me. So it's this really cool like battle.
Yeah, and Jack is helping Perry out. He's stapling his suit together.
Also, there's a moment where they're getting ready, and Robin Williams is all like talking to Anne about like something about like sex or something like that. And he's all like, "Oh, I can't let this good of a woman go to waste." And then he gets on the table, and he's all like unzipping his pants, and he like,
let's do it right here on the table right now.
It's like time to like, and then he says penis, and I was like, I didn't catch what you just said, and thank God.
Because he kept having her bring, what did she kept giving him leftover?
Yeah, I think it was mac and cheese.
Yeah, she kept giving it to him because he wanted to see her breast when she bent over.
And I'm glad you mentioned that scene, because it's also kind of subtextual, where like he's doing all this like, hey, I love you, let's make love, but you can also tell like he's looking at Jack. He's like, hey, you got a good woman here, don't let guys like me take her away.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then because she keeps calling him Jack, he finally comes around and is like, took you long enough. Jeez. Aye.
And then so yeah, they're getting ready, and then they all meet up, and they're like, let's go out, and they go to this Chinese restaurant, which once again I think is a wonderful scene, and there was a lot of improv behind the scenes, and you can kind of tell too.
Yeah.
Where they're just like, just creating spontaneous moment after spontaneous moment. Perry is kind of mimicking her clumsiness, so once again she's not the only one kind of messing up.
Absolutely. It's probably my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah, where like apparently behind the scenes they're just like Robin was just like making everyone laugh. Like it was just, there's apparently like just like minutes or even hours of footage. Like they filmed it really late. The shooting was like really late. And so like, everyone was just kind of going insane together. So and you can see that in the scene. It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's I think what puts the cherry on top of the scene for me is at the end he starts to sing, Lydia, oh Lydia, have you met Lydia? Lydia the tattooed lady. And all of a sudden you become a child because you start being like, oh my God, this is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because yeah, that's also like top 5 moments of the movie for me, when he sings that song and the score is playing with him. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a beautiful moment.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned fantasy, and it's like, that's just like the waltz sequence. It's such a almost fantastical moment where it's like, is this a musical number? Like, it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I would agree with you. Absolutely.
At this point, they leave the restaurant. Jack and Anne, they're like, oh, wasn't that great? You did a good thing today, Jack. And they embrace, and then we cut back to Perry and Lydia, and he's walking her home, and if there's a best scene in this movie, it's this one, and I'll explain why. So both of the performances in this scene are so potent, where like we feel Lydia's plight, that maybe love and everything that goes with it isn't worth it, and that's why she's so defensive. She's been broken before. She doesn't want to be broken again. And I feel like in some way or another we've all felt that way, whatever it may be. And I think the ultimate dramatic question of some of the best Robin Williams movies is this man too good to be true? Can a person like Perry and in turn Robin Williams exist in reality. And
Right.
when Perry gives that speech to her, it's perfect. It's the way Robin is so vulnerable here is magnificent, and the way he says "I love you" is the best, and it makes me feel so much. I was a pool of tears. He loves her, and he tells her that in a way that's so genuine and moving. It's a perfect scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of scenes in films kind of like this, right? Like the walking up to the door scene.
Right.
And I've never seen it done quite like this, and how you said, Nick, how vulnerable it really is. You know what I mean? And like films try or attempt to be vulnerable, but like Robin Williams just is, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's why this scene really works how it does.
It's funny how you mentioned that it's a kind of a common thing that occurs in Robin Williams movies with him. I kind of sometimes I take a lot of things he says in his movies and I piece them together as one piece of dialogue. For instance, he has that quote in Good Will Hunting where he's talking about you guys seen Good Will Hunting?
Yeah.
You missed the little things. I remember the line, the quote. Do you remember the quote?
Yeah, it's something along that line. Like you miss the little things.
Yeah, but in the movie The Fisher King, he's literally labeling those little things. So it's kind of neat for me. I don't know. Maybe that's just the way my mind works. I kind of like to piece it as one monologue. But yeah, he's naming those little things.
We get to another. I keep saying this, but it's true. It's another very powerful scene where the Red Knight shows up again. Lydia leaves, and Perry's like, she forgot to give me her number, and then you know, we see the Red Knight again, and he's a mess. He's he's just he's just suffering so much in that scene, and he's running away from the Red Knight, and what's interesting behind the scenes is that Terry Gilliam, they were shooting it, and he had to tell Robin at one point, "Stop, you're gonna hurt yourself." That like, hey, if you keep like trying to push so much, it's great already, and if we got to do it again, we'll reshoot it. But like, you can stop now. You can stop.
Damn.
Yeah, you don't have to do it anymore. And so like Robin, I guess, really wanted to perfect that moment, but regardless of if he thought if he like that he didn't perfect it or not, I think he did, and like it shows on the screen.
Yeah, it's a crazy moment, and I believe it's the last time that we see the Red Knight, because and then we finally see what happened.
We actually, yeah, we really see it.
Yeah, which is it's a terrible fucking.
Yeah, it's
it. I don't know. No words can actually describe. They really do it.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, like I don't know. It's kind of like it's weird. It's tragically manic too, in a way where it's like, you know, he's like screaming and he's hollering, but like you want to cry almost. You know what I mean? Even though it's like, you know, maybe on face value, like maybe a little wacky, but like you don't. But you love him so much that you know he's hurting. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of a balancing act that is really important. And so the assholes come back from the beginning of the movie and they start beating him up. And once again, very important, he cuts Perry and he says, "Thank you." And it's like, oh my god, that is haunting and powerful in a way that we kind of mentioned this in our World's Greatest Dad review, Hunter. But I think him thanking that guy for freeing him of his pain, it's really hard to not think about his troubled life, and it's just wow.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it before, but a lot of these movies kind of reflect his own life, and it's very interesting, and I don't want to say cool, but it's very interesting to see. But it's also very as we say before, like haunting and very upsetting in a way.
Absolutely. Perfectly said, Hunter.
So it's kind of like, it's kind of like what I was saying before with everything mixed together. Now the quote is, "You'll have bad times, but they'll always wake you up to the stuff you weren't paying attention to." And I like to use that quote in this movie because not only do I think with Robin Williams in the aspect of watching his wife die, and then he's paying attention to all these little things of of this girl Lydia that he's infatuated with. I think that's the overall theme for Jeff Bridges' character.
Yeah,
I think Perry gives him those things that he wasn't paying attention to in himself. You know?
yeah.
And which is interesting because that's kind of what World's Greatest Dad was about a little bit.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's just so interesting. Even like going to like a 2009 movie to a 1991 movie. It's just so interesting that there kind of was a through line with like nearly every single thing he ever did. Basically, Jack thinks, okay, I helped him out. Now I can go back to being Howard Stern. And so he's like, hey, I feel good again. Sorry, Anne. Gotta dip. Gotta leave. You know, and it's like this really like regression that is once again very powerful, where it's like he's regressing and he's like, look, I only did this for this one thing. I can go back to being, you know, successful and popular and an asshole again and not feel so guilty. And so he breaks up with her, and Anne has this wonderful moment where I think maybe in this might be kind of the moment where she got that Oscar for for this moment. But she kind of breaks down and like says like, I've been through all of this with you. It wasn't easy. You think this was fun? And you know, like I love you. Can you say that back? And he's like, I don't think I can.
At least he's honest.
Oh shit.
No, that's kind of what I felt though. I was like, well, at least he's being honest, whether that be good or bad. At least like or maybe he's not. Maybe he's not being honest. Do you guys
that's
think?
the thing. He isn't being honest.
Yeah,
that's the point. He's because obviously by the end it's different. So you know it's kind of like he's very scared still to feel and admit anything. So of course he's just gonna be like, I don't know if I do.
Yeah, that's very, his character arc is very relatable.
Right. He's stubborn. He when he starts to reflect, he starts to be appreciative of things he wasn't paying attention to. Do you guys think he fully kind of changes in the end? I mean, I guess we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to that for sure. But that is an interesting question that I definitely want you to bring up again. So yeah, we're moving forward. You know, he goes to this meeting where like, oh, my agent wants me back. I'm gonna be, you know, this popular guy again. So he meets up with him, and we see Michael Jeter, and he's like, hey, I know you. Can you help me out? Like he's in a bind or whatever, and he just like completely ignores him and walks away. And it's just this heartbreaking moment. So basically, it seems like he totally didn't learn anything from this Jack. So yeah, he's going back to the building, and they're talking about, hey, we're thinking of doing this new show, this new TV show about homeless people, and it's basically a whole spiel about like, hey, we want it to be happy though, and we want it to be like, hey, they actually like being homeless, and they you know, we want them to be a crazy, you know, but also like, you know, so they love life though, and it's just like this fake horse shit, you know, fucking pitch. And you can see it in his eyes, like, oh, this is not it. I can't do this.
Right.
And so he leaves. He goes back to Perry, and once again a beautiful scene where he's kind of just explaining step by step, like, no, I'm not gonna do this, man. I'm not. You know, you can't. You don't have a hold of me. I'm this guy, and he keeps kind of just saying that to really himself, just like, no, I'm still this guy, you can't change me, you know, I'm not going to care about someone, especially someone like you. And like he walks back and forth, and it's just kind of this moment to moment kind of thinking, and then he's just like, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it because of you. I'm not going to, you know, and it's just kind of this moment where it's like, oh, it's so earned, because like he's so in denial for a lot of it that like when he's finally just like, okay, if I do this, it's gonna be because of you.
Absolutely. And it has to be that, because it's in his mind. What he has to do is completely absurd. He's like, this isn't the Holy Grail. This isn't real. He's literally only doing this completely crazy task to please this other man. So, I don't think he definitely believes that's the Holy Grail.
I'm not gonna lie. I was like, maybe it is. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
I really did. I was like, this movie's done some pretty crazy stuff. Maybe it is the Holy Grail. And then I thought, a la Indiana Jones, I was like, is he going to have to drink from the Holy Grail to save him? I don't know why. I really thought it was going to go that way. I really did.
Because the movie goes to unexpected places anyways.
Exactly. So
so I get that. I could roll with that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like his kind of character turn is so earned, because like you understand that like he's understanding Perry, and he loves him and he cares about him, and if we didn't like Perry, we don't like this movie. You know what I mean? Like we have to we have to care about Robin Williams as Perry, or this movie just does not work. So like that simple kind of idea is so important. So like, once again, Robin Williams, amazing. But yeah, so Jack gets that, finds the Holy Grail. He has an awesome homeless getup. He's like Peter Pan almost. I don't know. It's like it's very weird. And he says something that's very important, especially to his arc. That like, he's kind of saying like, this is crazy, right? I can't believe it. But then he says something very important. That is, I just hope when they put me away, they find me a place right next to his.
Mm.
Yeah, I thought that moment was very sweet.
And in a way, I think that's why he changes. And I think now that we're getting back to this, he does change, and it makes sense. It's natural. You know what I mean? It's not like he's like totally just like this completely new guy now, but we're on the road to good stuff in the future for him, because he's learned that now because of Perry, because he learned empathy because of him. And so that's why it all works. It's not just like, I love everything now.
I agree. I think he definitely changes at the end, and and like you said, like it's well earned.
I think he changed, but maybe not. I think he's embraced the ability to change. I think he has a different type of thinking, and he's heading that direction, and things are affecting him different, and he's letting and eventually he's going to become this. Because I don't know, it seems so sudden to me. I don't know. I think the audience was letting us know, hey man, I love you. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a different man. I know I can do this.
Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, it all of that work, I think, character work just checks out for me. Like emotionally, just like from a structure, from a script structure standpoint, and everything. So yeah, totally. So yeah, he gets the Grail, which is really just like a trophy.
Yeah.
Which is great because he accomplished his mission, so he got a trophy.
Yeah. And then he sees that there's a guy who's like half dead, who overdosed on some pills, and he's like, I don't know what to do. And he goes and he triggers the door to trigger like the police or whatever to his whereabouts. So, because at first I didn't catch that, and I was like, wait, is he going to help him? And so when he does that, I realize now, like, when he did that, he saved his life. So, which I think, once again, perfectly ends his arc of the road to being a better person. So he goes back to Perry, he gives him the Grail, quote unquote. But you know what? To Perry, it's the Grail. He gave him the Holy Grail, and that's what's so beautiful about the ending. And he wakes up and he says, once again, such a good scene where like he's basically saying like, hey, I know I was this other guy. I know I was a professor and hunter. I know my wife is gone. I miss her, and can I miss her now? Thank you. And it was just like so good from both of them. Like the way Jeff Bridges impacted by that. The way the line delivery of in Robin's performance is wonderful. And so yeah, Perry's awake. He's alive again. He's once again, as he always does. He's orchestrating, a chorus of loonies. We love to see it. And yeah, they're singing "I Like New York in June." What about you?
How about you?
And Lydia's there, and she realizes, oh, he's okay. And they have this embrace. Are you my girl? Yes. It's wonderful. I cry. But it's also kind of funny too, where he's just kind of like, he turns around and he's like, hey, where you been? And like, they once again they embrace. Jack is singing too with them. And then Anne and Jack embrace, and this time he can admit that he loves her. And then finally, to kind of put a bow on Jack and Perry's relationship, they're naked together in Central Park, baby.
I know, with Pinocchio in between them.
That's right. Heyo. So yeah, they're both singing. It seems like, Jack is like saying something about the clouds, like, hey, like the clouds, man, are we moving? What's going on? And then Perry's just like, no, they're clouds. It's the wind. What? And once again, it just perfectly shows, like, something has changed, but they love, they care about each other and they love each other, and they're doing this thing together and they're singing, and finally the city lights up in their imagination. They're singing, and the love could not be more real.
And fireworks.
Fireworks.
Lots of fireworks.
Chris, final thoughts on Robin Williams' performance and the movie.
It is my favorite Robin Williams performance. I think I mentioned that earlier. I haven't seen anything like it. You can't compare it to any one of his films. Like you can compare Awakenings to Patch Adams in a way, where you can't. The Fisher King stands by itself. And I think what makes the film so special is his scene partners, who he acts with, how they take in the scenes, and how they interact together.
Didn't get nominated for Best Picture, right?
No, I don't.
Yeah, no. I think
No.
I read it was the only film that year that got nominated for like a score or something like that.
And she won Best Actress, but the movie wasn't nominated for that. That threw me.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, it's also interesting that, like, he got nominated for Best Actor, when in some ways you could say he's a supporting actor in this.
Yeah, I would say Bridges would be the actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't take away from the performance, but it is interesting that they gave it to him for at least nomination wise for actor.
Yeah, especially because he doesn't show up. He shows up like 30-40 minutes in. Doesn't
and
he?
It's funny, we mentioned this about Jumanji, that like, hey, we're kind of waiting for him. And this one, we don't, because the movie's good also, but also like, yeah, and when he shows up, it's like awesome.
Yeah,
right.
That is very interesting. We've mentioned it about a few of these movies, that he takes a little bit to come in, and you're always kind of waiting. But Jeff Bridges holds his own, obviously. Jeff Bridges.
The dude.
But even when he does like characters, like Mrs. Doubtfire, we'll get Robin Williams at the beginning, but we're waiting for him to turn into this woman.
Yeah,
That's
true. Might I add, a very sexy woman.
Absolutely.
Nick has a thing for Doubtfire.
Hey, I don't blame.
I do.
Yeah. Nick, what are your final thoughts on this film?
Yeah, so I've actually seen this movie twice now, preparing myself for this episode. And yeah, even the second time, it's just as good, if not better. This movie's great, but Robin Williams makes this a masterpiece. No one, as you guys were saying, no one could do it like him. It's the perfect balance of comedy and tragedy. He's manic, but as we have discussed, it's from a place of tragedy, and you immensely feel for him. He's a genuine person who wants to give it his all and wants to help people, and that's very Robin Williams. It's it's his mission in the movie, but really he does it because he cares. He's your friend. It's a perfect use of Robin Williams. He brings the character such energy and life, the heart and soul of the movie. It's one of the best performances I've ever seen, I think. I don't think that's a big hot take, but also I haven't seen this movie before, and even though people talk about it, it's not like the movie that people immediately go to. I think people immediately go to movies like Aladdin, Doubtfire, Jumanji, while movies like this, they're mentioned but not as much.
I agree. I actually consider myself lucky. Interesting that, and I don't think anybody else, well, not many people can say this, but this was my first Robin Williams movie I've ever seen.
Ooh.
I wasn't brought up on Disney, so I didn't see Aladdin until like a couple years ago.
Oh, wow.
This was a movie my grandmother would always just throw on, and I would just call it that movie. I didn't know it was called The Fisher King or anything. And then eventually I end up seeing What Dreams May Come. So I got introduced to Robin Williams and very dramatic. And then he did Mrs. Doubtfire. I'm like, oh, he does comedy like that. So I was kind of introduced to him backwards, which I think is very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, Christopher, that explains so much about you, I think.
Yeah.
Like, your first Robin Williams movie, of course, it's fucking Fisher King.
I love this movie. 10 out of 10. It's an easy 10 out of 10 for me. I think the first 10 out of 10 I've done for the series. Yeah. And
oh, you got to do out of 10? So I'll say 10 out of 10.
I'm giving this 10 Pinocchios. It's an amazing movie. Amazing performance by Robin. Hunter?
Yeah. I'd have to agree. This movie is one of my favorite movies now. Jeff Bridges, Robin Williams. It's a duo that I didn't know I needed until now. I will watch this movie over and over and over again, I think. And he's brilliant. Everybody's actually brilliant in this movie, but specifically Robin Williams. We say it over and over and over again in this series, but it's a different Robin Williams in a way. Like but also like he brings everything to the table that we love him for. And that's why it is now my favorite Robin Williams performance. And I give this movie 10 out of 10. 10 Pinocchios out of 10. I was mulling over like a 9 or a 10. I really was. And I was like, dude, why the hell? What's the knockoff? What's the knockoff point? There is none.
I could see people not loving this movie. Like, I could see like people saying like maybe it's a little too weird, a little too, messy or in your face. I don't care though.
Right.
Bro, those people like Garp, so I don't care. I think this is my second 10 out of 10 that I've given. I think I gave Awakenings a 10.
That's right.
If I'm
that's a good
right.
one.
This is your second 10 out of 10. This is my first.
So Nick, where's this ranking for you?
Well, before I jump into the rankings, I remember for at least one or two episodes you said I like him in this movie, Robin, but I want to see them, the creators, directors, producers, whoever, let him go. No. Like, just like let him be himself. Just let him be himself. And I think this is the movie.
Yes, 110%.
I'm gonna agree with you.
Because so many directors, like, you hear like, oh yeah, they didn't want him to do improv, they didn't want him to do this. I didn't see anything about that here. I think they really just let him fucking perform.
Obviously, this is my number one so far. Honestly, it's going to be very hard to top this one in our series. I know we're almost done. We have 4 episodes left, but still.
Ooh.
Yeah, so this is my number one Robin performance so far, and right under that is World's Greatest Dad, then 1 Hour Photo, Awakenings, The Birdcage, Moscow on the Hudson, Insomnia, Mrs. Doubtfire, Jumanji, Hook, The World According to Garbage.
So good. Best joke ever.
I know you. Yeah, wait. Let me preface. Hunter made this joke first in an episode, and it's just the best joke ever.
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna agree with that joke.
Nick, 100% in agreement. This is my number one movie on the list. Saying that, the next 4 that we have are some of his best movies, so I don't know if it's going to stay number one, but yeah, I can't see it being beat by any means. So it goes Fisher King, number 2 at Awakenings, 1 Hour Photo, World's Greatest Dad, Birdcage, Insomnia, Moscow on the Mule.
Fuck. Fuck right off.
I'm pretty sure that's a Nick original right there.
That is my joke is the second best joke of all time.
Yeah. Then at number 8 we have Mrs. Doubtfire, Hook, Jumanji.
I would probably have that same order. That's crazy.
That was our The Fisher King episode. Thank you, Chris, for being such a great guest.
Hey, thank you guys. It was a blast.
Yeah. Chris, thanks for coming on. I remember our shortly lived movie nights where we watched like Eyes Wide Shut and stuff like that.
Hey. The only two that like that movie, we argued for that movie.
Oh, we argued for it. We really
It's the best.
Yeah, so good. But yeah, dude, always wonderful talking movies with you.
Hey, you too, guys. Amazing.
And thank all of you for listening to our The Fisher King episode. You can find us at NYC Actors Talk Film. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much everywhere you listen to podcasts. We have a website, NYC Actors Talk Film. We have a YouTube channel at NYC Actors Talk Film. Shout out to Joey Dalton for the amazing artwork. Tune in next week where we'll talk Aladdin. Please rate, review, and subscribe. And Chris, where can we find you online?
You can find me on Facebook, Christopher Allen Yerkes, and I'm starting to get an Instagram, so you will see that. I'm starting a production company, so Dark Sheep Productions. Look for that.
Hell yeah.
Chris, you got a movie coming out at some point.
I do. It's called Ragdolls and Merlot. We're in the post-production stage. Editing's coming together. I had a great cast, great experience. A lot of people to thank. Thank AMDA. I got a lot of tools from there, so I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. I'm at like a 3-hour runtime.
Oh, so your movie's gonna be the next Irishman.
It is gonna be it really inspired by Tarantino and Scorsese, so I think they had a big input on that.
Oh,
I'm thinking, wow,
that's awesome. What's the name of the movie?
Ragdolls and Merlot.
Awesome. I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, AKA fucked up people and alcohol. That's pretty much what it's called.
Hell yeah, man.
That's what it should be called.
Yeah.
Thank you again for listening, everyone. We've been NYC Actors Talk Film. I like New York in June.
How about you?
Hell yeah. Bye-bye.